Welcome to the Hsld podcast. My name is Zach Bernhardt, a former athlete, current orthopedic surgery resident, and founder of Hsld, short for high speed, low drag. This show is all about high performance, where drive meets discipline, and each episode I sit down with athletes, leaders, and high achievers from every walk of life to unpack the habits, mindsets, and stories behind their successes. If you move with purpose, you're in the right place.
All right.
Mayor Miller, Mayor of Ashland.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I'll tell you what. I actually was born here in the city of
Yeah.
Ashland. I grew up in the rural area outside of town, but was actually born in the hospital 48 years ago. And I'll tell you, growing up out in Jeromesville, moving to the city of Ashland, in some ways that was kind of like moving to the big city.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm honest with you, I would have never anticipated that I would run for mayor. I will confess to you that I was keeping my eye probably more focused on maybe county government and then state government and the federal government, thinking one day maybe we'd run for Congress. And I guess that day still could come, but at the moment, I will tell you, it is a great honor to serve as mayor. And let me just say this, I think sometimes people think, oh, well, you're only the mayor. Mayor of a city of 25,000 people, that's not any big deal. Well, let me tell you something. As someone who has served at the state level in government as well as at the county level, what I'm going to say to you is,
More fulfilling.
I don't know that there is a better job you could have in government. Because you know what? Every day I actually have the authority to do something, to fix a problem or to make things better. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to argue with the Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and liberal. I just need to go out and make things happen.
Yeah, and you can't just sit and text probably with people like myself.
That's right. But I'll tell you what, that's what makes it so fulfilling. Because, there's definitely important debates going on in Washington, important things happening in Columbus, and maybe one day I'll be a part of those debates. Yeah. But I will confess to you, what I've learned about myself is I'm probably more of an administrator or an executive personality than one of the body of 435 members of Congress or the 99 members of the Ohio State House. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you found your way to, being the mayor of Ashland. When did you at some point say, I want to do politics or I want to get into government?
That's a great question. People often think that I came from a political family or some family of notoriety. In fact, I often have folks come up to me and tell me, oh, I know your dad or I know your mom, and they have no clue who they are talking about. But what I will tell you is when I was growing up, like I said, we lived out in the rural area, and my father worked at one of our local factories, went to work right after he graduated from high school, and mom was a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. And neither of them, I can never recall one of them ever talking about politics. Furthermore, some people would be shocked to know neither of them registered to vote before I ran. Yeah. My mom registered the year I ran and voted for the first time. No way. And my dad still hasn't registered because he doesn't trust the politicians. Now, the good news is he did contribute to my campaign, so I do know at least his heart's in the right place. Yeah. But he has still not voted during his lifetime.
That's actually incredible.
It is incredible.
So what was his response then when you said you wanted to go into politics?
Well, I'll tell you what, he's kind of always just been quiet about all of it. Even today when you talk about it, he's interested. And he'll make comments about it, but I think he really, it's almost shocking to him that I am as deeply involved as I am. Now, what I will tell you, though, is when I was growing up out there in Jeromesville, I did have a grandmother that lived just down the gravel road. Yeah. And during the summers, I could ride my bike to Grandma's. And Grandma was concerned about politics. And I would say she was more patriotic than she was political. Yeah. Grandpa fought in World War II, so she always made sure she voted. Yeah. And on Memorial Day was always passing out flags and that sort of thing. And she would always take me with her. She'd never tell me who she voted for. And even to this day, I don't know if she was a Democrat or Republican. But I would say that it was probably from her that I started getting interested in patriotism. More than politics.
I like her.
The red, white, and blue. Yeah. And then as I came through high school and college, then began to see how that love for America and red, white, and blue might best be translated through government.
I think that's probably something that's probably a shared sentiment in this area, especially. I think patriotism is probably a pretty good way to put a lot of people's mindset in at least this area that we both grew up in. I grew up also not in Jeromesville, but we're on South on 60 there. And,
absolutely.
I, unlike you, I followed directly in my father's footsteps.
Yes,
but,
yes.
So he and I have always, been able to relate. But that's, you kind of had the opposite, I guess, in that he's kept it quiet, whereas I've always had, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, this is how you do it.
Yes.
So that is funny. But, like you, grew up small town, cared deeply about the community that we're involved in. And, I wasn't one generation removed, I guess, like you were, but now a second generation removed from a farm.
Yes.
My grandfather farmed the same plot of land.
And incidentally, it's hard for me to believe this.
Yeah.
But now it's almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, 30 years ago is when I first ran for office.
Yeah.
I ran for Ashland County Commissioner. And at that time, I remember going to ice cream socials and different church events out in the county. And that is when I met your grandfather and your grandmother for the first time.
I'm sure.
And you may not even know this, but even when I started running when I was 18, the first time I ran, I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Didn't win, but ran 4 years later against the same individual and won.
Yeah.
At that time, I was the youngest county commissioner in the state in the year 2000 at age 22.
That's incredible.
And I will
22.
tell you that your grandparents supported my campaigns, your grandfather and grandmother, but your grandfather was always so kind to me and would help me out with Farm Bureau events and so on.
Yep.
And it's incredible, though, to sit here today and think, that was 25, 30 years ago. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, that would have been probably right around, when we moved back in 2000. So I'm sure my grandpa was very heavily involved in the Farm Bureau at that time. So he's, rest in peace. He was a man of few words.
Yes, he was.
But very supportive, and I think that's our last name all the way through has always been just loyalty.
Yes.
You get somebody, you find somebody, and you see the good in them, and he certainly had a knack for that.
Yes.
He could pick your good from your bad.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely,
for sure.
yes.
He supported the good. So that's
well, he
awesome.
certainly would be proud of all of you because you have
I hope so.
been incredibly successful in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And one thing that I often think about, and I could use you as an example, you and your father and your siblings, it's amazing how different your life is and my life is from our grandparents.
Yeah.
And yet, it's only a generation away.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be dramatic when I tell this story, but I actually get chills when I think about it. When I was growing up, and that wasn't that long ago, when I was growing up, when we would go to visit my grandparents, they lived in West Virginia.
Yeah.
You would literally drive up the creek to the holler.
Yeah.
They didn't have running water. They had a well off the back porch with a bucket that they roll down. The wallpaper in the bedroom was old newspapers. They burned coal, and what's incredible is to think, look how different my life is, and it's only one generation away.
Well, I always say that too. My dad and his two brothers. Obviously they both chose to farm.
Yes.
And my dad was the youngest of three brothers, and he said, "I'm going to go to pharmacy school. I'm going to go play football." He got off the farm and he left. And I always wonder, and then ultimately, went on to medical school, and I always wonder how different would my life look if he never made that decision.
Absolutely.
He didn't chase his dreams and, go from, nothing to, what he says he is now. And, that is incredible work that my cousins and the rest of the family does day in and day out. And it's harder work than I could ever do. But I just think about how different, my life would look. So it is incredible. It's funny you say West Virginia, though, because that's where I did medical school.
Is it?
So I drove through the holiday. There was actually a place in Lewisburg, which is down
I know where Lewisburg
down
is.
by the Greenbrier.
Yes.
I lived down there for 2 years, and there's a place called Hill and Holler. Okay. It's just a restaurant there.
Okay.
But I got to see the culture down there. I'll tell you what, the nicest people.
Oh, absolutely.
You wouldn't believe.
Absolutely.
They could tell I wasn't from there.
Yes.
And even from Ohio, it's like, this isn't
not that far.
No, and it does feel very similar. The culture.
I will tell you for what it's worth, the Greenbrier is one of my favorite places.
Oh, it's incredible.
And we have celebrated for the last, let me think here, probably the last 11, what are we? Probably 13 years celebrated my birthday at the Greenbrier.
Oh, really?
In February.
Yeah.
We always go down for a 3-day weekend.
Have you played the golf course? Do you go?
I have not. I have not.
That's
No.
one I want to do at some point. I'm
Yes.
not good enough to play that golf
Yes,
course.
I
It's
bet you
expensive,
are.
I've heard, but
Yes.
yeah, it looks incredible. So speak to, we talked about kind of the history and where you've gotten to now, both of ours a little bit, but speak to some of the things that you've done, in your tenure here, especially in the role as mayor,
Yes.
what you've gotten accomplished in Ashland and what is coming for Ashland. Because, I know, and we've talked about some of the really special stuff that you have on the map, or putting Ashland on the map and some of the projects that you have going on. But go ahead and tell maybe what you're able to tell to
yes.
whoever maybe may not know about
Yes. So people often ask me, so what is your favorite accomplishment? Or what do you think is the best thing that has happened in Ashland since you've been mayor? And if I am honest with you, I think the best change that has taken place, at least during my time serving in this office, now whether or not I caused it or not, I don't know, but has been a change in the spirit of the people here in Ashland. It wasn't that long ago that whenever you were talking with people here in Ashland or you were talking with people about Ashland, everyone would kind of always shrug, roll their eyes, and, well, it's only Ashland.
Yeah.
Or, Ashland used to have, but now Ashland's gone downhill and Ashland's dead and all this sort of thing. Then that would usually be followed by, well, Ashland needs to be more like this city. Ashland needs to be more like this city. Well, the wonderful thing is, in such a short amount of time, we have seen people's attitudes about their hometown, our hometown, completely change.
Yeah.
And now we have moved away from that was Ashland's good old days to, wow, I love my hometown.
Yeah.
I can't believe all the things happening. It's amazing all the changes that are taking place. I'm looking forward to this project. I'm looking forward to this event. And I have to admit, it's been a long time since I've heard someone say, I don't know why Ashland can't be more like this town or that town.
Yeah.
In fact, in many instances, and we won't name names,
They're trying to
those
replicate.
towns have come or asked how we're doing things because
What's the
now they
secret
want
sauce?
to emulate. So there's a leadership lesson. Number one, in order to be successful in any leadership role, you have to be able to know where you're going, or at least have a vision of where you want to be or what you want to be able to become, and articulate it.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you're already on the right path.
Yeah.
And then a quick second to that would be, let's face it, when you have a positive attitude, you make better decisions that generate a better reality and create a better reality. And that is why I point to that as the best achievement or the best change, is the fact that our attitudes change and now we see all of our strengths and what we can be. And as a result, we're making better decisions to help us become just that.
Yep.
And I will tell you, there were probably a year or two after I'd been in the role, and I made a concerted effort to continually do video updates, kind of what you're doing now, only for the community about this is what we're working on, this, and this. And as a result of that, then we started getting local entrepreneurs and others to step forward
transparency,
and they would say, you know what, I've never thought about investing here, but I want to meet with you sometime and talk about what we could do.
Yeah.
And that's, in essence, what has generated the beautiful downtown that we have right now. These are our own people investing their own resources in fixing up our downtown. And, of course, you and your family are doing that at this very time. You have gotten involved in, that was poor grammar, but you have got involved in renovating one of the key buildings downtown, but one that's in need of the most love and improvement. And
a lot of TLC.
Yes.
We can almost see it from here.
You can.
Yeah.
But because of your commitment to our community, because of your creativity in your business venture, and your willingness to put in the hard work to make it a reality, I have no doubt that it won't be long before that's probably one of the best spots downtown.
We've got some really exciting ideas. We won't disclose all of them, but I think there's some people, and I think also, it is people like ourselves from here investing back, but now those people that you're saying want to replicate it, picking and choosing which ones we're allowed to, allowing to kind of let in to the community,
absolutely.
right, to have a hand in that. And we've got a couple of people in mind that I know I've told you about, and I think they're excited to see what it is that Ashland, maybe just an hour away from these big cities, has to offer.
Yes. So what I would say to you is, when people come and talk with me today about the city of Ashland, this is what I tell them. For whatever reason, at this particular time in history, it appears as though the world is awakened to the fact that Ashland is a wonderful place. Certainly, we're in a great geographic location, being right here in north central Ohio.
It's not just the cheese barn.
No, it
it's
isn't.
not just the cheese barn.
Feather and Fur Outfitters.
Yes, yeah.
But we are halfway between Cleveland and Columbus on a major U.S. highway.
Exactly.
And
it's a gateway. I keep saying it's a gateway.
Here's a little fun fact for you, and you probably haven't heard this yet. We recently got some of the data that is collected by marketing firms based on where cell phones move and so on. And in the past 12 months, I believe it's around 1.5 million people have stopped at our interchange out on 71 and US 250.
Yeah.
Now, to put that into perspective, and I believe I'm accurate when I quote these numbers. If I'm not, forgive me. But
they sound good.
But I believe a Chick-fil-A restaurant in the Cleveland market, which is very popular, one of the most popular restaurants, would probably get about 300 to 400,000 visitors a year.
Really?
Think about that. 1.5 million people are stopping
at
Sundays. That interchange.
It's the Sundays. They're closed on Sundays.
Well, and you know what? I think a lot of it is the Goasis or the Travel Center of America is a great place, a clean place. But the point is, people know where Ashland is. Now, at a time in history when a lot of larger areas are struggling with maybe crime or increasing costs of living or civil unrest in the streets, Ashland is still peaceful.
Yeah.
We're still clean. Google our crime rate, and I believe last time I looked, I think we were 75% lower than the state average, maybe 76 lower than the national average. MSNBC says we're one of the lowest cost of living cities our size in the Midwest.
For 10 years.
Time magazine, I believe they reported here a couple of years ago that the cost to raise a child from birth to 18 in Ashland is about $75,000 to $100,000 less than the national average. I believe it's around $275,000 here and about $350 so on the national average.
Yeah.
But then throw in the fact we're still a patriotic community. We love our veterans. We support our police and fire until they show us they shouldn't be supported. And we're a strong faith community. Ashland is a relatively small community, not just in geographic size, but also in population. 25,000 in our city and about 53 or 55,000 in the county. But in this place, we have over 140 churches of a variety of denominations. They all tend to get along. And here in our city, we've got about 40 of those. And when you have that many men and women and children showing up on Sunday and hearing a message of righteousness and goodness and loving your neighbor and being kind, doesn't mean we're angels, doesn't mean we don't mess up and that we're all always nice. But the point is, that flavors your culture.
Yeah. And they always say, you can tell a lot about a town. Look how many churches there are versus how many bars.
Churches and banks, too.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is interesting is how many banks Ashland has.
Yeah.
And even as you and I sit here today, a new bank is moving into the community. And the reason they are saying they're moving here is because you cannot deny that there is an energy in Ashland right now. So those are all good signs. But what I would suggest is that all of the elements that are necessary for a very high quality, satisfying, peaceful, and prosperous life are still very much very much present here in Ashland.
We're moving forward, and I always say with what we're doing, right? Because a lot of what we're doing is cutting edge, or whatever you want to say. It's new age. It's the AI. It's the media. It's social media. It's some of the things that maybe make an older generation a little uncomfortable, right? The things that scare them. And what I will say is, you can have both. Right? And that's what I keep trying to say is, we can move forward, and we can keep moving Ashland forward, and we can still preserve the values.
And we're proving it.
We can preserve the values. There's a way to do both.
With Ashland University here, and they're making wonderful investments in the programs and in the campus here, that's definitely a wonderful benefit and a wonderful attribute to our community. But let me tell you, you talk about us still being on the cutting edge. You and I are sitting here at a time when Amazon is just getting ready to complete their new distribution facility.
One of many projects.
At the same time, there's a 225,000 square foot warehouse industrial space being constructed out in the industrial park. with 6 more similar buildings being discussed here for within the next 10 years.
Yes.
Just
One
met,
of which is ours.
That's right. And just met with a group from Israel who want to build a building, and they think they want to do it here in Ashland. And so they just flew into town this week, and we were showing them sites. And the reality is, when you look around what's happening here, not only do we have all those positive quality of life attributes, but because of our location, because of our proximity to first-class educational institutions, we're still able to be on the cutting edge.
Yep.
So we're excited to see what the future holds for our community.
Yeah, as are we. We're excited to be a part of it. Looking back on it, we used to have drive 20 minutes to go to Chipotle, let alone some of the things you have going on now. We didn't even have that. So we're excited to be a part of it. I think that our building, is just a part of a bigger piece of the puzzle. I guess our 2 buildings, right? Renovating this one, and then you talk about some of the monstrosity facilities that are in the plans. Would love to get 140 to 150 and run athletes through here. We just talked about the gateway.
Yes.
We have the athletics here with the university. We have a rich history at the high school with athletics. Why not Ashland?
Yeah.
Why not have athletes from Canton, Akron, Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo meet in the middle?
Absolutely.
You could have a battle of the North and the South. So that's the idea with that building is to, have a performance center. That's always been my passion. Why not right here in Ashland? So, with how busy you are, right? Everything you do, we've got a lot on our plate, right? How do you find a balance, right? How do you stay healthy? What does family look like? How do you strike that balance?
Well, tell you what, first of all, I think everyone is busy these days.
Oh, I know. It seems like the demands are more and more.
It does.
It doesn't matter what you do.
We just try to squeeze in more and more and more. And in fact, I just a moment ago had a conversation with someone about this. The fact that, because they were asking what are my future ambitions and what do I want to do next and so on. And I, of course, was telling them that right now, there's so many wonderful things happening here in Ashland that I want to be a part of, and I'm not thinking about going anywhere. And that is the God's honest truth. That is not a political answer.
No.
But what I will tell you is I made the comment to them. I said, with time going so fast, because the years are just piling by. The fact that I can sit here and tell you it was 30 years ago when I ran, that is unbelievable. But what I will tell you is, what I'm definitely seeing is, there's something to be said for being able to go home a few nights a week. There's something to be said for being able to go out of town for 3 or 4 days if you want to relax.
Yeah.
And you talk about that work-life balance. My wife is very busy. She's actually very busy.
Yeah.
She is the director of the Pregnancy Care Center here in Ashland and a state representative.
She's a state representative.
And so she is always on the go.
Yes.
And I will tell you that you definitely have to make sure you take time to recharge and relax. We try to do that on Sundays, and we try to do that now with more frequent, shorter vacations. Usually, a lot of folks will take one big vacation a year, that's it. One of the things that we try to do is take more trips, but shorter in duration.
Yeah.
Because you definitely, in the nature of what we're all doing, you've got to be able to step away from social media, step away from the office and all the daily responsibilities to recharge.
Yeah.
Because it does take its toll on your health. Now you ask about my health. I will tell you that I do not run, but I do try to do at least 20 to 30 minutes of cardio several times a week and lift something because I can't let my muscles go to mush.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I don't overdo it, I can assure you that, but we do try to stay in shape. I will tell you, for me, the thing now that I do think about probably more than anything else is trying to eat better.
Yeah.
Because there is no doubt, and it only makes sense whether you're a doctor or whether you're a scientist, you should be able to figure out you are what you eat.
Yeah, it correlates.
And so you've got to make sure that you are not eating poison.
No.
Yes.
That's something, I could go a million ways with, but, there's so much misinformation out there.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, when I started this journey a couple years ago of, maybe the media side of things, right? Not the surgical and the clinic and, becoming a surgeon, the side that I did with the media side of things was actually my disdain for the misinformation out there. And it was kind of like, I know that I know the right answer on a lot of this stuff, and I know that there's a lot of people who are doing this for clicks or for money or anything. I just want to provide the right message. And so I think that's originally why I got involved with, Wesley and some of these other, people on my team at this point, was to try and put together a message. And that's where Hsld kind of came from. The Hsld, the high speed, low drag. It's just more of a mantra, but it's going to be so many things, in addition to the facility. So
very good.
Yeah. I guess last question, and I think this would be something that maybe anybody listening, especially we have a younger population of listeners, high school, college age, even into, young professionals, anyone who's interested in getting into politics, right? If I'm going to sit here with a politician like yourself, what would you tell them about that process, and how would they get into politics?
I think the best way for someone to get involved is by starting to attend public meetings. If you're interested in running for a particular job, whether that be city council or school board or county commissioner or state representative, start attending some of the public meetings, because that's where you really start to learn how things operate, and you also start to rub shoulders with and have conversations with the people that can help lead you in the direction you need to go to possibly get on the ballot and to do move in that way. What I will tell you is, when you take a look at some of the most influential people in American politics today at the highest level, even in the West Wing of the White House, many of them didn't have any formal, quote, political science education. It was about back home. They started helping out a mayor. They started helping out a local state representative or a congressman. Maybe they helped in their campaign or walked with them in the parade. And through that, they build trust. And I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, the most valuable thing you could say in every line of work, but certainly in politics, is loyalty and trust. If I believe that I can trust you, then you know what? You're the guy we want on our team. We may not even always see eye to eye, but if I know that when you speak to me, I'm getting the truth, even if it's something I don't want to hear, that's what I want. And that's what quickly makes a person's, quote, political capital rise, because those are the people you want around you.
And having especially that cabinet of people is so important.
And especially in a world where there is so much false information and fake news. And it's hard to just delineate between what is fact and what is fiction. Now more than ever, especially in politics, you're looking for people that you can trust.
Your sounding board. Did you have a political science degree then? Is that something you would recommend to people?
I went to Ashland University and majored in marketing and public communications with a minor in political science. And a lot of people probably think when you go into political science, you're going to be studying the presidential election, you're going to be studying those things. And that is a part of it. But a lot of the political science education usually is about philosophy and the founding of the nation and that sort of thing, and less about the actual nuts and bolts of politics. So political science education is certainly nothing to shy away from, because it is good to understand why our founding fathers and mothers created this nation the way they did, because I still believe they came up with the best possible form of government on the face of the earth.
And I think to this day it proves true.
I think so too.
I only ask because, again, young listeners, but even my youngest brother, he's kind of thought that may be the route he wants to travel, which is interesting to me. But he's thinking that, so maybe he might take a listen to it. So he may want to talk to you one day.
That would be great.
For anyone who wants to get involved or be a part of some of the incredible things that you've got going on here, or that we have going on in this community, what would you, where can they reach out? Who can they reach out to?
A lot of people will meet with me about that. So if someone wants to get involved in some of the projects that we're working on currently, or maybe some of the committees that are planning some of our special events, because now we have a whole year's worth of special activities, don't hesitate to reach out to us here at the mayor's office, no matter who you are, because I meet with folks on a regular basis to discuss those types of details, and hopefully we can get folks plugged in somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love everything you've done. I honestly want to thank you for everything you've done.
Well, thank you very much.
You.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that, our golf outing, we keep on plugging it. It's coming up on August 29th. And, I won't put you on the spot, but would love to have you there if you're in town. I know it's on a holiday weekend, and would love for you to say something there. So,
absolutely. I would love to be there.
Yeah. Thank you again for your time.
I may not be playing golf that day,
okay.
but I'll be there.
That's all right.
All right.
Maybe a celebrity shot.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.